Hi, and welcome to episode 5 of Soft Signal. My name is Varun. I'm joined by Aditya, and we are going to talk all things IPL, uh, week 4 of the IPL, and then cover what some of the most interesting talking points that have come up this week. How's it going? Have you
Yeah,
been enjoying the IPL this week?
yeah, the IPL's been interesting. I think I've, of course, it's not being played in the best circumstances due to COVID, but it's the IPL. It's still fun and it's still giving us many points to talk about. So yeah, the IPL is good fun, and we'll see what the highlights are this week.
Yeah, for sure. So I know you touched upon COVID, and it is still a very serious situation. So I hope everyone is still taking precautions, staying home, staying masked, and just being as careful as you can. But it's affecting the IPL as well because we have the first point we wanted to talk about was the threat of players leaving. It's not completely understandable, especially foreign players who are stuck outside. They don't know if they might be able to get back to their countries. We've also already seen players like Andrew Ty, Liam Livingston, and then Kane Richardson and Adam Zampa who have already gone home. And there's a threat that more players might leave. And also, not just foreign players, I think Indian players as well, because Ashwin has withdrawn. He said it's temporary, but unfortunately, there are many members of his family who have got the virus. So obviously, it makes much more sense for him to be there with them. But yeah, what's your initial take on just players having to leave? I mean, it's of course justified, but how do you see it maybe impacting teams?
Yeah, I mean, it is justified. It's totally understandable. I think safety, health, and safety comes first, especially for overseas players, because the Australian government is talking about banning all kinds of flights from India,
Yeah,
with absolutely no special status or special treatment given to the Australian players who are playing in the IPL. So I guess each one of them needs to look after their own interests first, especially when it comes down to health and safety. So totally justified. Of course, there's going to be an impact on the teams. If you look at each one of the teams, Delhi Capitals, for example, Steve Smith is in their top or in their first 11. So if he leaves, there's going to be a gap left at number 3 in the batting lineup where he bats. But more than Steve Smith, I think that uh, the potential loss of Ricky Ponting is a bigger impact on Delhi Capitals because clearly, given that the Delhi Capitals is a very young team, they have a young Indian captain in Rishabh Pant. I think Ricky Ponting bears a lot of the leadership responsibility and the strategic responsibility in that team. So losing Ricky Ponting as the coach of the Delhi Capitals, I think that will be a bigger impact for them than Steve Smith leaving the team. And who else? Who else do we have? We've got Pat Cummins from
yeah,
KKR, who again will leave quite a giant-sized hole in the team. But to be honest with you, KKR anyways is not performing that well this season, so it won't really make such a big difference to them. I think. Um, who else? Who else do we have?
I
Who
think
else?
RCB will be another team who will be potentially impacted
Yeah.
because Maxwell is a big. He's been actually performing so well for them this season. They already lost two of their overseas players. I think they got Scott Kugelheim of New Zealand as one of the replacements for Richardson or Zampa who left. So that's covered. But yeah, in the batting, if Maxwell leaves, it's going to be a big hole for them to fill in their middle order because they don't really have the best middle order. They're relying a lot on their top four. So for them, it will be a loss. And their coach, of course, Simon Cattage, is also Australian. I like. I don't think he'll be as big a loss as Ponting will be for Delhi, but yeah, losing your coach midway through the tournament is not ideal.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think losing Maxwell could be quite a big impact because he's really playing well this season as well.
Yeah.
I mean, if you lose somebody who's not performing well, it doesn't make a difference. But I think Maxwell is really playing well this season and shoring up the middle order of RCB. So losing him could be a big impact.
Yeah, I read that somewhere. I think Maxwell said that they were planning to have a charter flight after the IPL where Indian and New Zealand players are going to England for the World 20, not 2020, Test Championship final. And then English players will obviously go to England as well. And Australian players want to be on that flight. Because I think if you spend 14 days outside, you can't have been in India for 14 days. So they'll spend 2 weeks in England and then go to Australia. But it's all very much up in the air. I think it's really a strange time to be in, strange situation. I think if the IPL does go on, even if Australian players or foreign players were to leave, I would still be interested in taking a look at teams because I think there's enough. It'll probably be interesting to see the Indian talent also against each other in such a marquee stage. And I don't think all the foreign players will leave. So that might be something interesting to look at as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that will be interesting because if you look at the number of overseas players in the IPL, I think the Australians are the highest number of overseas players. So uh, if you exclude them, there's not much in terms of overseas players apart from that. I mean, you have people from New Zealand, you have people from the West Indies and from England, but um, but it's not that many.
Yeah.
So I think if they leave, you're right. It's going to be Indian talent versus Indian talent. And that'll be interesting. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
interesting, especially with the World 2020 coming up. Maybe there'll be some players who make their claim who have not got a chance yet. But yeah, we forgot to cover one team and kind of intentionally because the one of the major Australian players, who not just this season but for the past few seasons, has been David Warner, who was captain Sunrisers Hyderabad, and unfortunately he was been replaced today as captain with by Kane Williamson. So I know on this podcast and also outside, people have been clamoring for Kane Williamson and talking about how unfair it is that he has been left out, and he's finally got his chance. So what do you make of this change? Do you think it's justified? Is it going to make any change to Sunrisers?
To be honest, I'm not a fan of changing captains midway through the season. We saw this with KKR last season as well, where Dinesh Karthik was replaced with Owen Morgan. Didn't really make much of a difference, right? The season ended in the same way.
Yeah,
Uh, and I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference now as well because honestly, changing the captain midway through the season also means it's not just about changing one person, right? It's about changing the strategy and the approach that the person brings into the team. And the strategy and the approach is devised not overnight. It's
yeah.
devised like many months before the tournament actually starts. So so when you just change the personnel overnight, it creates more chaos than anything else. The only plus point is that Kane Williamson will now naturally be one of the four overseas players in the team. But I think having him as captain midway through the season is not going to change anything for SRH. They've had a bad season, and I think that it's probably going to end in the same way. I will be very, very, very surprised if they actually make the playoffs.
Yeah, like I don't even think captaincy was the problem. And it wasn't like they had a captain who was either so inept at his job or who was performing so badly that he had to be replaced. Because Warner has not been, yeah, he's not set the tournament alight, but he's not like he's getting out for a duck in every game. So I actually feel a bit sorry for both Warner and Williamson. It seems like SRH is either trying to show that they're doing something proactive to the middle of the season, or there might be something we don't know, which maybe Warner's going home, and they're trying to guard against that to maybe give Williamson some time. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. There are rumors doing the rounds that Warner is gonna leave the IPL for the reasons we mentioned at the start of the podcast. or the podcast. Um, but yeah, in terms of the actual performance of the team, I do not see it making a difference. Um, Although I was surprised that Warner went to the press and actually said that he was surprised that the selectors left Manish Pandey out
Yeah,
of the team in one of the previous games. What doesn't make sense to me is that he is the captain of this IPL franchise. I think he should know who's being selected for
exactly.
each game. So that came as a bit of a surprise to me. I think that if it is indeed true that there is a team of selectors that makes calls or makes selections for each game, um, and the captain is not involved in it, I think that is already a cause of concern. And then, of course, it's even more weird that Warner would go out to the press and mention this, because that just creates problems within the team environment. So it's a big mess with SRH this season. But again, as I said, I do not think having Kane Williamson back in the team will change anything.
Yeah, I think the only good thing to come out of this is that Williamson will play games. But other than that, their team is just not strong. The next auction just can't come soon enough for them, and hopefully they make some good buys for their own sake. Um, but talking about Hyderabad, someone from Hyderabad who's actually doing so well for for one of the other teams, is Mohammad Siraj, who is playing for RCB. He has really, we've touched upon this in a couple of the previous episodes, but just wanted to specifically focus on this, especially given his performance against Delhi Capitals on Tuesday, where they needed 14 in the last over. Rishabh Pant and Shimron Hetmeyer were at the crease. Hetmeyer had just scored a 50 of 20 balls, and they needed just 14 of the last over. And his first four balls, he gave something like 3 or 4 runs, and then last two balls went for boundaries. But by that time, it was a bit too late. Just his evolution, his confidence as a bowler, as a person, has been tremendous to watch. And it's not just good for RCB, but I think it's just great for Indian cricket because he's made his mark in tests. He's played T20s before, but he was bad at the depth. But I think he could even be a strength for India going in the next few months.
Yeah, it's been quite an evolution for him. I remember a couple of seasons ago, or maybe 3 seasons or 4 seasons ago, when he played his first game for, um, I think it was his first game for India actually. It was a T20 game, and he got smacked around the park, and there were images of him breaking down into tears. Now, again, I don't know whether he actually broke down into tears because the media has a habit of overhyping things. But either ways, the response that he got after that game was quite bad. I think his confidence would have been low, and of course, that's not very good for any cricketer when their self confidence is low. But that being said, I think the turning point for Siraj came in the Australian tour a couple of months ago, where he actually had the opportunity to lead the attack in the absence of
In the
Bumrah.
absence of everyone,
Exactly, in
basically.
the absence of the whole team, actually.
Yeah.
And of course, it's great when you lead the attack, but also you do well leading the attack, right? So he was able to take wickets and bowl really well, and I think that confidence has translated into his successful IPL season so far.
Yeah.
It's impressive because he seemed to be a kind of bowler who is better at test match lengths, so just outside off, move the ball away a bit. This IPL, he's shown that he's also got the ability to bowl Yorkers at the death of the innings.
Yeah.
So it's good to have these kind of multifaceted bowlers, because then it just creates a increased option pool in terms of who you can pick for in each who you can pick from rather in each format. So it's really
Yeah.
exciting to see Siraj do well.
Yeah, he's quickly becoming one of my favorite Indian cricketers. I follow RCB the most out of all teams. So I follow a lot of their social media and stuff. And as a person also, he's become so much more confident. It's wonders it's crazy what doing so well in other aspects of your life, how it can rub off to your in to other aspects as well. And I think one of the major contributors to his success has been Kohli. So in a recent interview, Siraj said that all his success is down to Kohli, which might be a bit of an exaggeration, but he's been in adulation of Kohli for a while. I remember couple of years ago, Kohli went to his house to eat dinner, and he was like, "This is the best moment of my life." So some things might be taken a bit over the top, but I think it's good for him if he does admire him so much to be in the same team as him, to be captained by him, to be it gives him confidence. So I think it's good, and if he plays for India also, as of now at least, he will be captained by the same captain, so that's good. Um, a good uh, kind of leader disciple story. A bit uh, cringy at times, but I think
Yeah,
it's okay. It's good for Kohli to have someone like that as well.
exactly. So now you know when Kohli retires, someone else is going to retire 30 minutes right after him.
Yeah, exactly.
So you know
Uh,
who that's going to be.
yeah. Any concern about Kohli's form, especially since do you think he
Yeah.
should not open when he plays for either RCB or for India? Because he planned to open for India also.
Yeah. So I think it's not just about the IPL. His form, his poor run of form,
Yeah.
has kind of stretched back from the England series actually.
Yeah.
Um, of course, the stats show that he's not scored a century since November 2019. But of course, you've got to discount the fact that there was
Yeah.
no cricket played for 6 to 8 months in that period.
Yeah.
Uh, However, that being said, it's still a long period for Kohli to go without a century, right? He usually scores centuries very frequently. I think I honestly I don't know what it is down to. He still looks the same player. I mean, who knows? There are probably some small technical glitches there, but you need to kind of be up and close with the player to actually figure out what they are.
Yeah.
But I think from the outside, it still looks like the same Kohli. Maybe, as you said, the opening role is not working for him. Maybe he's coming uh, uh, to open the innings with the intention of sort of playing the sheet anchor role, and that's probably adding some extra responsibility on him. So maybe that could be a reason. Um, but having said that, I think with Kohli, it's a matter of time. Um, of course, it's not good to have him in not so good form, but I think it's a matter of time before he regains his touch.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. It's just a bit concerning. Even his strike rate has not been the best. Not just he's not getting even when he's getting runs, he's not able to get them at a fast enough pace. But hopefully he does. The good thing about the Indian team is I think they have multiple options to open as well in T20. So if he doesn't want to open, it's not like he has to for India at least. So that's good for the team. Cool. I think that was all the major highlights that we wanted to talk about this week. Looking forward to the next week, of course. Now each team has played half their matches. Think we have a pretty good idea of who's going to qualify at least the top three: CSK, RCB, Delhi. But the rest of them are still up for. I think Punjab and Mumbai are going to have a strong battle for the last playoff spot because Punjab are starting to find some form as well. So it'll be interesting to see. Um,
Exactly. I'm a little surprised by Mumbai's performance actually this season. I
yeah,
remember the first show of this podcast, we did say that Mumbai looks unbeatable as always,
yeah,
but I think this season it's not been so good for them. But they always are able to find a way. Uh, so
yeah.
hopefully they do it again.
I'm just seeing the scorecard right now. They're chasing 219, and Krunal Pandya is batting at 4. Like, what is going on there? I don't know.
Yeah, Ishan Kishan has not been playing too well, so I think they've decided to use Krunal Pandya at four because Ishan Kishan is
Yes.
not in this team.
Well,
Uh,
he's 14 of 14, so I don't know how well he's doing.
yeah,
And especially when they have Hardik and Nisham, I don't know, makes But yeah, that's this exciting match. Looks like Chennai is going to win again,
Yeah.
but we'll see. Mumbai Chennai is always exciting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think we'll stay on till the end because that's going to be quite a while away. So thank you again for watching this episode, and we'll be back next week with uh, with another recap. And stay tuned. There'll be another episode coming out midweek, which was something a bit different from what we've been doing. So look forward to that as well.
Yeah. Stay safe, stay sanitized, and stay masked.
Yep. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Yes, bye.